Welcome to WTV News. I'm Lottie George.
And I'm Matt Brand. We're excited to bring you news stories from around the city.
This week, medical cannabis users rally to support a local dispensary.
And we visit a new community art space that encourages anyone to try their hand at painting for free.
But first, let's catch up with Eilish Bonang at the news desk. Eilish?
Thanks, Lottie. People gathered in Cornwallis Park on the weekend to protest the 9th annual Halifax International Security Forum.
Hands off Syria!
Hands off Iraq!
Hands off Iraq!
The forum meets every November to discuss ways to strengthen cooperation among the world's democracies and to discuss security challenges. Some protesters, however, say these meetings don't actually make the world a safer place.
What we need to acknowledge is that war has never been about peace. I think people don't want to imagine that their governments do terrible things in their name, and I understand that.
Kasnabish says Canadian officials should stay out of these discussions and that an anti-war mindset would have more impact than a projection of force. Autism Nova Scotia says there aren't enough respite care workers in the province, so it's holding an information session to try and find more. Respite care gives family members who are caring for loved ones a break. Melissa Myers is the respite care coordinator for the organization. She says it can be a rewarding experience.
And it gains a lot of experience because with the respite database, even though it's at Autism Nova Scotia, it is cross-disability. So you could work with anybody with any type of disability.
There are currently over 150 families on the Autism Nova Scotia Respite database, but only just over 100 available workers.
So the ratio is that I'm looking for way more workers and families. That way families can have options of who they would like to hire.
The information session will be held on the 25th of November at the Sackville Public Library. And new statues on the Halifax waterfront have many people applauding the city for recognizing women's roles during the Second World War, but the city's poet laureate isn't impressed. Rebecca Thomas says the statues missed their mark when it comes to Indigenous representation.
They take the pretty aspects of our culture, we'll throw in a basket, we're known for our baskets, so on and so forth, and we'll say that that is inclusion is incredibly short-sighted.
The sculptures represent the different jobs women took on while the men were overseas. Thomas says she thinks in the future, history and culture need to be reflected more accurately through art. And the Nova Scotia government is recruiting French speakers to the province. They're in France and Belgium trying to bring back support for the French-Acadian community. Hannah Butler has more.
Jean Grundling came to Nova Scotia from Quebec in 2014. He and his wife Julie brought their 2 young children to the province in hopes of starting a new life. But they had problems finding French language childcare.
We started looking in June of 2014. We put both our kids, Joshua and Vivian, we've put them both on the waiting list. And June of this year, Vivian was still number 6 on the list, and that's 3 years after we actually put them on the list.
The province of Nova Scotia is trying to fix that. They recently went to France and Belgium looking for French-speaking workers for several sectors, including childcare. A statement from the Office of Immigration says, the government of Nova Scotia and the 1NS report have been very clear that growing our population is necessary to increase our labor force, help employers fill labor gaps, revitalize our communities. Grundling says without access to French childcare, people like him could leave the province.
We're losing people more than what we're gaining. Just a small tweak in the educational system where people realize like, wow, there's place for my kids from 4, 5 into 1st grade, good French program, let's consider moving to Nova Scotia.
And Grundling says without French services for families like his, Acadian culture could become diluted and French roots in Nova Scotia, for some, eventually lost.
They're going to be lost. They're going to end up going to the English schools, and they're going to end up not getting involved in the French like they initially wanted. I guess it's not the end of the world, right? But I mean, that was a missed opportunity there.
The federal government has set immigration numbers to just over 1,300 people in Nova Scotia for 2017. This will be the 13th year of Destination Canada. I'm Hannah Butler, WTV News, Dartmouth.
Thank you, Hannah. Heading into the holiday season, many charities are asking for food and money to support those in need. One woman, however, is asking for something a little different. Suzanne Lively is the founder of Lively Friends. She started an online campaign to raise $15,000 to buy Diva Cups for women in need in HRM. A Diva Cup is a reusable silicone cup used during the menstruation cycle.
If this campaign is successful and we raise money for 500 Diva Cups and everybody uses them in the first year alone, we will save 120,000 tampons from going to the landfill.
The cups can last between 1 and 5 years, and Lively says she hopes to meet her goal by December 31st. That's the news. Back to you, Matt and Lottie.
Thank you, Eilish.
Almost time for a break.
Coming up next, how different generations come together to share history in Cherrybrook.
And our On a Dime segment, where you'll learn how to craft your own gift just in time for the holidays.
See you after the break.
Plenty of people came out last weekend for the Parade of Lights.
I can attest to that because I was stuck in traffic for approximately 40 minutes.
Well, it looks like you survived, and it's a good thing you did, because it looks like you got to go to another weekend event.
That's right, Lottie. I went to an event called Kumba, where African Nova Scotian elders share stories of their lives with youth.
Let's take a look.
It gives me a chance to learn about my heritage, about things I don't know about.
Kumba, which means creativity in Swahili, is a pilot project developed by the Delmore Buddy Day Learning Institute. Here, students can learn about their history not taught in public schools. This session took place at the Black Cultural Center.
So I think one of the great things about this program is it bridges that gap and it allows the youth and the elders to understand, that they have a lot in common.
One of the elders, Blair Lopez, wanted to instill the importance of a good education, like his mother did for him. He spoke of how she was denied her dream of becoming a nurse because of the color of her skin.
In Nova Scotia at that time, blacks were not allowed to train as nurses. And so she dropped out of school and started doing housework and became a nanny.
When the elders were done, the youth interpreted their stories through art.
As the elders speak their stories, I'm there to aid the youth in helping them to create a image, like a composition, that will commemorate the stories.
Brianna Gordon says she comes away with a newfound understanding of the obstacles faced by those who came before her.
We have it easy. They had it hard. They had the real struggle.
This was the second of 2 Kumba sessions. Organizers plan to extend the program into 2018. Communities in the Annapolis Valley, Truro, and Beachville have expressed interest in the project. Matt Brand, WTV News, Cherry Brook.
That looks like a great program.
Yeah, it was a real privilege to spend some time there. Now, from one community art project to another.
That's right. I visited a local man who's making art more accessible and interactive, free of charge. This is Create Space, a new community art space at Parish House Studio on Argyle Street.
I think it was important for me to make the space a free space because it opens up the potential for who can come in through the doors. It's certainly not limited by if you can afford the class or if you can afford the art supplies.
Nathan Little, Sheridan College graduate and illustrator, started this project in October with funding from St. Paul's Anglican Church. People are already enjoying the free lessons and calm space.
Calm because I'm not stressed out and don't have to be stressed out about art.
That Nathan was the real deal because he had kids doing sculptures, and I realized his commitment to having kids doing artwork with real art supplies.
Lessons are offered bi-weekly on Saturday mornings. This is only the 3rd Create Space session. Little hopes to see it grow and become an essential part of the HRM community.
A safe place for different people from this community to come in, to explore, to have fun.
Little is currently working on a way to make it more accessible to homeless people as well.
You can find out more on his Facebook page, Create Space.
So Matt, have you started your Christmas shopping yet?
No, I haven't even thought about it yet.
Well, maybe this will inspire you. On a Dime is going to shake things up with a new holiday DIY. Take it away, Caitlin.
Thanks, Lottie. We all know how stressful the holidays can be, especially when it comes to giving gifts and sticking to your budget. This week, we'll be making snow globes on a dime. They can be as personalized as you like, plus they work for any winter holiday. And you can make 5 of them at home for the same cost as one from a shop. For this project, you'll need pure glycerin, about $10 a bottle at any pharmacy. Glitter, this bottle costs $1.25 at Dollarama. A mason jar, $1, and craft glue, $5 at Canadian Tire. You'll also need water and any small figurine or toy to sit inside your snow globe. I picked mine up for 99 cents at the thrift store. Glue your figurine in place on the lid. Drying times will vary depending on your brand of glue, so be sure to check the label. While the lid dries, pour 1 tablespoon of glitter in your jar for snow. Like so. I use silver to mimic Halifax's rain and sleet, but feel free to use any color you like. Pour water in the jar, but don't fill it all the way. Remember, the figurine you glued to the lid. It'll fill the rest. Add 3 to 5 drops of glycerin to the water. The glycerin will make the glitter fall slower when you shake the snow globe. Once the glue is completely dry, glue the rim and threads of the jar to seal it. And when the lid is in place, glue around the outside of the rim to ensure the seal is as tight as it can be. And voila, 1 homemade snow globe. You can make about 5 of these bad boys with the supplies you bought, and they come out to $5.25 each. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Caitlin. Now we're going to take a quick break, but don't change that channel.
We've still got more to come, including the next segment of Better Halifax.
And an update on Untitled, which examines the land title disputes in North Preston and how they're being handled.
Be right back.
medical marijuana community had a big win on Friday outside the Halifax courthouse. I went to the rally.
We are Team Possibles.
And you're watching WTV.
Welcome back.
After multiple raids and a recent arrest, the owner of a local cannabis dispensary is celebrating a court victory.
WTV's Noah Widmeyer is joining us now from outside of Pharmacists, a dispensary on Goderton Street. Noah?
Community had a big win on Friday outside the Halifax courthouse. I went to the rally to find out more.
Medical cannabis patients of Halifax, today is truly a joyous day.
Protesters rallied around Halifax Provincial Court to show their support for local medical cannabis activist and store owner Chris Enns. His charges, which included trafficking and possession of cannabis, were dropped. Chris Backer organized the rally and is friends with Enns.
We're here to show our support of the dispensaries and protest the police raids on the attempt to shut them all down. They're a source of medicine for the patients that they can't get elsewhere.
Enns owns Pharmacist Cannabis Resource Center, a medical cannabis store located in downtown Halifax. The store garnered attention after it started offering free-of-charge cannabis products to cancer patients. It's been the subject of multiple police raids.
Over the past year, we've seen quite a number of patients that got themselves in fuzzy situations, whether they were growing without being allowed to, or maybe they're helping some of their friends with access to cannabis because they couldn't afford it in order to, afford their own medicine. Weird little situations like this.
The government of Canada will be legalizing recreational cannabis next summer. So far, Nova Scotia hasn't announced details into how it will roll out the legalization process. Currently, medical cannabis rules are vague. Debbie Stoltz-Giffen is a patient at Pharmacist. She says after constant closures, she feels like her medication is forgotten.
So as patients, by and large, we feel like we're basically garbage dropped to the curb because we have no reassurance of a continuous, constant supply of the medicine that our doctors say we need.
Chris Enns says he plans to keep the business open and he wants to see the HRM change its laws around dispensaries.
Regulation and licensing around medical cannabis dispensaries, and that doesn't need to wait for the federal government to happen. We're seeing in Vancouver and in Victoria this happening on a municipal bylaw level.
Enns says his court win is also a win for patients, but there's still a long fight ahead.
That's reality.
Nova Scotia Justice Minister Mark Fury says the province can expect a set plan by the end of 2017. Back to you, Lottie and Matt.
Thank you, Noah.
For the last 2 years, radio, television, and journalism students here at NSCC have been following the issues of land title in African Nova Scotian communities. Last month, the province announced $2.7 million to help solve this historic injustice.
Now, we catch up with lawyer and activist Emma Halpern to hear her thoughts on the recent funding announcement.
We're talking about communities in our province that have been deeply, deeply failed by government, that have experienced racism and discrimination for literally hundreds of years. I really hope that as we move forward that there's real engagement and respect for not only the various community organizations that support the African Nova Scotian communities that have been identified, but also specifically for the individuals who have been working on this initiative now since 2014. I'm very excited and motivated to see the government recognizing that this is a long-term systemic problem and to put you know, not an insubstantial amount of money behind it. With the 2.7 million, we can create a strong, successful process that actually allows many, many, many community members to get to a place where they do have good title to land. It is essential that there is incredible clarity about what is going to happen with the money that's been put forward, and that there is community involvement in those decisions. And I won't feel comfortable until I know and I can see that that's happening, and I can hear from community members that there is a comfort that this money is going to be really put to good use and really used to fix these long-standing problems.
That was part of our Entitled series.
We'll continue to follow up the stories and the updates throughout the year.
Now it's time for Better Halifax. This week we profile Cardisha Provo, who uses her YouTube channel to give a glimpse of everyday life into North Preston.
Giving people the opportunity to like be themselves is one that's really powerful. When I first put out my first video, like I did not expect any response. I just was kind of doing it for myself, like to create some documents and some videos or just around whatever I felt. I think that the community of North Preston is misrepresented and also misunderstood. People were messaging me and commenting back on my things, sharing my posts, and just sharing so much light and telling me that I've inspired them or that I have made them think about something differently, and just saying like I really needed this today. Like coming from a youth in the community of North Preston, you are able to help me in a way that I didn't expect to be helped. It's kind of weird to me because that's not at all what I expected. I don't feel like I do anything like different than anybody else. What inspired me to take it from personal growth and towards community growth and sharing of stories of the community, it's still kind of all connected to me. I still feel that I'm promoting and sharing stories of how I'm growing as a teenager and as a community member of North Preston. So basically, everything that you see on my channel is them through my eyes. I feel that who I am, it comes from all of them around me and everyone around me. They've all put in something in towards my growth, and that's basically how I share it. It's like through Cardisha's eyes, this person is like this, and kind of giving them the freedom to also speak how they want. And through that, they're able to see like at least someone's listening, like someone understands me, someone gets me. It makes me feel like I'm actually fulfilling my purpose like in my life. I've always strived to figure out what my purpose was, and I feel like now, like being 17, so young, I'm getting a hint of like how to do that. So it makes me feel like what I'm doing is good, and it's good for people, and it's like not selfish, it's not just for me, it's for others, and that whole feeling is just one that like I can't really describe, but it's kind of cool. I'm Cardisha Provo, and sharing our stories is how I want to create a better Halifax.
What an inspiring person.
Yeah, it's hard to believe she's only 17 years old. Well, that's a wrap for this week's show.
And if you haven't had enough yet, follow us on social media at WTV Media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
We'll be back in the new year with new stories to share. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. Thursday nights on Eastlink.
And we know it's super early for this, but it's our last show of 2017.
So, on behalf of our WTV family, we wish you and your family a happy holidays.
And an exciting New Year's. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.